we can listen to 3 sounds of the bell one more time. So we can truly arrive in our body in this moment. And we can enjoy the spaciousness we have cultivated within with the meditation. So we can be with whatever is present in our body, in our heart, in our mind. And good morning to the community. It's been so wonderful to practice together for the last 5-6 days already. And continuing on with the metaphor, our sister brightness, Sister Nghiem, was sharing the other day. I also like to bake sweets. And I was thinking how 1 week of a retreat is a little bit like baking bread or baking cupcakes and cookies. You know, in the first couple of days, we arrive and we start collecting all the ingredients we need. We receive a lot of Dharma rain in different teachings, in the sharings we hear from each other. And then lazy day is like the day we just let the dough sit. We have done the work, we have collected what we need, we have mixed it well, and we just let it sit. And I think after the lazy day is time to bake. So we are ready to go into the oven. Okay, sorry, that sounds a little bit wrong. Yeah, but you get the idea. Yeah, so we have 2 more days of practice together. 1 week goes by very fast. And I am sure that you have all cultivated a lot of energy of mindfulness, concentration, and insight to answer the questions you have in your heart. You have found your own inner teacher, inner wisdom. But the questions are continuous. For me, when I have a question in my heart and then I have a breakthrough and I feel like, oh, I found the answer to my question, and then the next question is born. And that's why the spiritual journey is never ending. It's something we enjoy for all of our lives. So today is an opportunity for all of us to contemplate on some questions. So if you have a question concerning your life, concerning the joy and happiness in your life, as well as different kinds of challenges and difficulties that you might be experiencing, you are invited to be brave and come up to sit on this chair. So you can also enjoy this beautiful view from here. And I see that today we're being filmed. So this is a little disclaimer. There is a possibility that it might be uploaded on our Plum Village YouTube channel, so it can be of benefit to more people. So if you don't feel comfortable to come up, you can also write down your question on a piece of paper. We still have the magic wand that was distributed from Sister Brightness the other day. There's a bucket of pens, color pens, and papers there. So if you want to write down your question, you're welcome to grab a pen and paper, and you can pass it to Sister Hienyan sitting at the bell. But we encourage you, if you can, to come up and ask your question in person. It's more personal. And whenever we ask a question from our heart, it can really benefit many, many friends. So you know that you're also asking for other friends. And you can also ask on behalf of somebody who are not able to be here in the retreat. And we will do our best to respond to your questions. We don't have the answer for your questions, because only you have the answer. But we will share from our own experience, from our practice. Hopefully it will help you to shift the way you look at things a little bit. And so you can continue to cook your question in your heart. And maybe I will introduce our panelists today, starting from Brother Tang. Brother Tang comes from Indonesia, and currently he is residing at our center in Paris, in Verdelot, at Healing Spring Monastery. And he's back with us during this summer. And I think you know Brother Tang from the Dharma Talk on Lower Hamlet Day. At the end of Dharma Talk, he offered beautiful song, and he's a wonderful singer, songwriter, and has many original songs, Dharma songs. So hopefully we get to hear more of your new repertoire, maybe tomorrow evening. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And on my right, we have Sister Nghiem, Sister Color, Sister Iron, and she has many nicknames. Shak is a very Buddhist term that has many deep meanings. And Sister Nghiem comes from Vietnam originally, and she's one of the we call the pillar of New Hamlet, very active sister. But before coming to New Hamlet, she also spent many years at our center in Germany, in EIAB. And last year she went back to Vietnam for 1 year to be at our center. We also have a couple of centers in Vietnam, at our nunnery and outskirts of Saigon in Ho Chi Minh City. And she's also a wonderful Vietnamese teacher. 2 years ago, for 3 months during the Rains retreat, she held 3 different Vietnamese classes, 3 different levels. So almost every day she was teaching Vietnamese classes for our Western or non-Vietnamese siblings. And so she's also a wonderful bridge between the East and Western culture. And on my left is Brother Phap. Brother Phap is French, lives at Shanha Temple, which is in the Brothers Hamlet. There's Upper Hamlet, at the bottom of the hill. Shanha means bottom of the hill. There's a smaller monastery, very beautiful monastery. That's where he lives. And he's a very special brother for me because we ordained at the same time in 2009. And yeah, with monastic path, it's not like everybody. We make lifetime commitment, but not everybody stays for lifetime. So it's very precious. Every year we celebrate our ordination birthday. We're just all very happy that we are still here for each other. So thank you, brother, for still being here with us. And my name is Sister Trai. I come from Japan originally, and I'm a resident here in New Hamlet. I've been here since my ordination in 2009. Haven't moved anywhere. Still here. Still happily practicing with my sisters here. So I think we are ready for your questions. So if you have a question, you're invited to come up. And if you have questions and you're not the first one, you can already start to make a queue on this side of the hall. So we can, many brave souls, wonderful. Yeah, maybe bring a cushion with you so you can sit there and wait for your turn. Yeah, okay. Yes. Great. Okay, you can sit. So, yeah. Okay. Great. Yeah, bring a cushion if it helps you to sit more comfortably. Okay. Yes. So, just a warning. It's wonderful. Thank you for your courage to come up here. But seeing the number of friends, it's possible we might not have time to respond to all of you. Just a disclaimer. But we will do our best. So let's keep our questions short, and we will also do our best to keep our response also short. And before each question, we will listen to a sound of the bell together.
like this is all right, or closer? Okay. To start, I still consume fairly much meat, and I try to keep it down. But even if I do it, I am playing Baroque cello, and the strings are gut strings. So I don't know if that counts. There is, well, the alternative is the modern strings, but they're not made for period instruments for Baroque music. I think it's a bit too specific, but still it's something that's in my do. So, yeah. Is it okay to keep... how to formulate the question? I mean, I want to continue playing Baroque cello, but I know where it comes from, the gut string, so it's in the name, gut. So that's it.
Thank you for your question. So your question is it okay for you to continue playing the Baroque cello with the gut strings? Yeah. Yes. And my brothers are asking me to answer because I also play a string instrument. And I used to play on gut strings, and now I use synthetic string. And it's not because I'm trying to be vegan, but it's just because being in a monastery, it's cheaper and longer lasting. So, we can ask ourselves, what is the effect of me playing the Baroque cello? Right? I can imagine that with your music, you can bring a lot of healing to people who listen to your music, and maybe also the feeling of peace and harmony. Music is a wonderful Dharma instrument, and our teacher, Trai, he also encouraged us to continue to play music in our monastic life. And I remember more than once our teacher, he received a feedback from people, like in person like this in Q&A, as well as by emails, to say, you talk so much about protecting the environment, but I see that you publish like millions of books. You say you're a million bookseller, and do you know how many trees have been cut down because of your books? And I see that you travel all over the world, you fly everywhere, but you're contradicting yourself. But did he stop teaching? Did he stop going on teaching tour? Did he start writing books? No, because it is the Dharma is so helpful for so many people to relieve the suffering in the world, and many people are needing this medicine. And I think music is the same. Music is Dharma, and we try our best in our daily life to minimize any kind of suffering, taking lives of animals, as well as plants and minerals. But we are all, being, even as vegan or vegetarian, we are taking lives of plants, and there are friends who are very sensitive, and they can talk to plants and trees, and we know they also have consciousness. So we cannot really draw a line to say this is an animate being and this is inanimate being. They are all of our ancestors, plants and minerals as well. So our practice is to really minimize the suffering and not to be judgmental, and to ourselves and for others. Our teacher also reminded us we should not be proud of being a vegan. It's not something to be proud of and to criticize others, everything we choose to do according to the 5 mindfulness training, it's a way to cultivate more compassion in ourselves and for others. And with that, I think you can decide for yourself how to create the most healing, most peaceful music that can be of benefit to many people.
Dear Sangha, I have a question about insight. When do we know something is an insight and something is just another distraction that's fabricated from the mind?
Dear respected Thầy, dear brothers and sisters, dear friends. Yeah. I just sound so obedient. Brother Bảo Tạng just say Sister Sắc and I already take the microphone. Okay. The insight, how you can feel that is an insight or not. Yeah. I think an insight, it brings you like the qualities of peace, at ease, and you feel that, wow, when you have that point of view, your body relaxes and you feel like some energies, it lifts you up and it really releases and you feel very good in your body as well. And I think when your body can react to that view, so you kind of know, and especially it brings you at peace and you really feel that you stop struggling. That is the insight for me. Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, dear brothers and sisters and dear community. I have a question on the meaning of dreams. Most of my dreams are very random, very like people I haven't seen in years pop up, and I can enjoy them for the randomness. But today I had a very bad dream. It was very full of violence and life-threatening situations, and so I woke up very disheveled and felt not myself. And so I wanted to ask what you make of those kind of dreams and how you deal with it and how you find meaning in them.
Dear Thai, dear community, there is the whole school of dreams, yeah? And I think it's available, the resources that we can explore and try to understand. But for my personal experience, I see dreams as a manifestation from my stored consciousness in the form of images. Yeah? And that dreams, it is not necessarily comes when we sleep. It can be also when we are awake. And many times that I find myself, my eyes may look at the lotus pond, but my image in my mind is different things. I don't know if you ever experienced that. Until I realized that, oh, where am I? Then I come back and look at the lotus again. It's the same when you listen to this panel, this moment, probably you listen to us, and at one moment your mind is going somewhere else and look at something else. Yeah. So that is one thing for me. The images that we see is come from our stored consciousness, and it is made randomly because the mind is not very awake, especially in the sleeping. The mind, it can completely shut off. So according to the Buddhist psychology, our mind can be completely off. One of the way is to have a deep sleep, yeah. Or we have a coma. Then our mind consciousness is shut off. But when our mind consciousness is activated, then anything is possible. Yeah. For myself, I rarely have dream. When I sleep, I'm coma. In general. But I pay attention. Every time I have dream, normally is when I'm about to wake up. So it means my mind consciousness from completely sleep is about to wake up. There's some part of my mind consciousness is start to be activated, and it allows space for images to come. And that images is pretty much depends on the feeling of my body and of my ear, of my other senses. It responds to all different senses that I have at the moment. I remember one time, as I said to you, that when I sleep, I'm sleep like coma. So I have a very important meeting in the morning, so I need to set up my alarm as loud as possible, so that I have no way, I have to wake up. But this one, what I put in my alarm is this emergency tone. Like you have a building burning, you know, like you have this alarm so I can wake up. And so when that alarm's on, actually I cannot really wake up because I sleep very deep. So, but the mind is slowly wake up, and it bring me to a place where I am in a room and people screaming of burning. And I keep hearing this alarm, and I get panic in the dream until at one point I realize, no, this is my alarm. And then I wake up. Yeah? And the second time I say like, oh, this is very traumatized, maybe I change it. I change it into the phone ring, yeah, like the office. And so this is the next day. I put phone ringing, and it's the same happen. Before I wake up, the image come is like I was in my old office where I worked before, and it sounds very clear. It is the phone in front of me that rang, and I pick up this phone, and I hear the toot. Like I said, why is this tone? Maybe another phone. I take another phone, and they all have the same tone. There's nobody speaking, but I keep hearing this ringing. And one moment I remember is my phone. So I wake up also because of that. And sometimes when we sleep, our posture is not very well, especially if we sleep in a new bed or in a tent or somewhere else. There's some part of our body get pressed, and it produces this feeling of not pleasant feeling. It can be like feeling anxiety, can feel like terrible because we are unconscious, and this come out through an image. And this image come out based on our experience, our thinking before, the information, the collective awareness. It's not belong to us only. And then because our mind consciousness is not yet fully awake, then all of the images can come out randomly, mismatched with all different places and different people. And sometimes we see someone, we are sure that this is this person, but actually this face is not that person. Yeah? This is how I analyze my own dream. And in monastic training, we were trained to how to face the bad dreams. Yeah. So when we have bad dreams, we may wake up from that bad dreams, we may sweat a lot, we may have so much fear and the heart beats so hard. And we are trained not to go back to sleep. Yeah. So the way we do it is to wake up, maybe go out from your room, go to the bathroom, wash your face, go for a walk, or massage your body, make sure that you feel calm and registered that this is just a dream. And then you go back to sleep. Yeah. And you're kind of restarting the whole process. If you go back to sleep, you may have a risk of continuing that dream. Yeah. So that's how we practice as monastic, to make that cut, to have time to recognize that that is just a dream. And then after that we can slowly check what is our consumption, how generally I feel, why I feel like that. Yeah. But we need to calm down ourselves first, because otherwise we feel so much impacted by that dream, especially a bad dream. Yeah. It can give you a lot of images that you don't want to see, and etc. I hope it is helpful. Thank you for your question.
Dear Trai, dear community, like probably most of us, I'm on a constant path of learning how to live with my emotions. And yes, sometimes I know in the practice we embrace our emotions with mindfulness. Sometimes they can get really strong, and then we can help ourselves by doing other practices, but only sitting with them. If we're sad, we might find another person to give us compassion from the outside, or shout angry into the forest before we can embrace it in ourselves. And while I find many resources on most of that, I feel that it's less talked about regarding sexual energy. And like from my own experience, sometimes I feel super turned on and I realize, okay, this has a message for me right now, and I don't really want to follow this message directly right now, just like with it being very angry, and it's probably not the best thing to just shout at the other person. So, yeah, I was wondering whether you might have some ideas what practices help to deal with sexual energy in a mindful way.
That idea, Sangha. I happen to not share yet, so I guess that's for me. Actually, I had a training yesterday evening in Upper Hamlet. We had a workshop on that topic, and it's actually a topic that actually I like to speak about, because, like you, I find that we sometimes hesitate to share about it, when it's actually a big part of our life. After, the way I practice with it is not very different from the way I will practice with other emotions, actually. So if I feel attracted, or if I feel sexual energy, first maybe I will contact my deeper aspiration. In which direction do I want to go? Do I want to follow that? A little bit like what you shared, huh? And what will come up if I follow that, especially as Monastic? It might not be a very good idea. So usually I will try already to use that energy as a bell of mindfulness for me, to stop and look and see, okay, where do I want to go? So maybe I can remove myself from that situation already, and go physically somewhere else where I can actually take care of that, and see, by calming down the sexual energy, why did suddenly it came up, maybe with that person, but also maybe at that moment. And what I found out is that very often sexual energy will come up when, I'm maybe a little bit more vulnerable. For example, I will be tired, or maybe I will need kind of somebody to take care of me. So it will very often be linked with that, actually. And so, unfortunately, we also have practices that focus more on how to take care of oneself, how to take care of that vulnerable place in us. And who is the best to take care of it is actually us, because nobody will know yourself as well as you, actually. So there is a part of you that can really embrace that vulnerable part. And so usually if I am in a situation when I cannot take care of it right away because I have some obligation, I will kind of make a deal with that part that, okay, later I will come back to you when I will have the right condition, when I will feel I am in a safe and in a safe place with as much space and time it's needed. And when I will be in that space, I will really come back to it and really tell it, I'm here for you. So what is going on for you? What do you want to tell me? What do you want to show me? And that part of me, and usually it's a very physical sensation, we'll feel that it can now unfold and now express itself and show itself. And be really, and I will feel that I can really embrace. And usually there is even a physical reaction of the body of that tension is going out, and there is somebody here for me actually, and it's actually myself. So I would say it's usually how it's ending up, but for each case it can be also some other triggers also that can come up. But I see that for myself, it's very often there is something going on that maybe I didn't see before, and that I need to take care of inside myself. Thank you.
So this is a very hot topic in the Wake Up Retreat always. And so in each Hamlet we have organized a special session to share more about it. And yesterday, as my brother said, they had one in Upper Hamlet. And New Hamlet, we will have a session tomorrow at 10:30, I believe. We will have an affinity time where you can choose which affinity group you like to go to. Thank you.
Yes, it's a nice view. My question is very simple. How do you recommend dealing with conflict? Because in Plum Village, it's very easy to become very soft and very gentle and very kind because everybody is just, smiling and so nice. But it's not always the case in the world out there. And on the one hand, you want to be soft and compassionate and open-hearted, but you also don't want to, you want to set boundaries and, be assertive in a kind way. And I have a very small story to illustrate my question, if that's okay. So yesterday after dinner, I got a bit greedy, and I was still a bit hungry, and people came back from picking the plums, and I ate a couple plums from the baskets that the people just brought back. And one of the girls got a little bit irritated, which I understand, and she was like, "You can just go pick them in the tree, But because I was in such a soft, very liquid state of being, I really froze, and I really felt super hurt, from this very, very small thing. And in the other world, like, you want to be, as I said, kind and soft, but you also want to be strong enough and not let yourself be stepped upon. That's my question. I can summarize it if you want. Like, it was a bit long. I'm sorry, but yeah, how do you deal with conflict and aggression at all scales? How do you stay, kind and compassionate and really in touch with your heart, but don't let yourself be like stay assertive. Put boundaries. How do you conjugate those two energies together?
Dear respected Thai dear friends, while you ask a question, Sister Trai Nghiem, she turned to look at me. Brother Tang, so look at, I don't know what I need to, what do you mean? But I know what she means. You know, when you say that, you come here, the environment, everybody is so gentle, soft, and things like that. But because you stay here for 1 week, if you stay here longer, you will see behind the stage. Yeah. You know, somehow I feel that like we as a monastic, we also have a lot of pressure because like people come out from the outside, they come here to expect that environment is going to be everybody kind, and especially the monastics. And you know, somehow we and our sister, we have some issue with each other. Like we do like housekeeping or things like that, or office, we have a conversation and we didn't agree with each other, but around is our friends around and we talk and somehow we smile. You know, somehow we also don't want to let you down. But as my experience, if Sister Hilde Grieving like this, I didn't mean her because I'm in the office team and in the guest team in the past, and I did like that. Yeah, I don't want to make people down because see our monastic why they behave like that, disappointed, especially just the arrival day. You saw that. Yeah, but yeah, things is we are human. Yeah, we all have all kinds of emotion, all kinds of feelings, and I try many ways. And at the beginning, when I enter the monastery, I feel a lot of guilt because I'm easy to get angry, and the sister around me seem they more calm, they more at ease and more peaceful. I remember the time when I'm aspirant, I'm get angry, and I suggest that I need to calm myself down. Need to like all kinds of practice method I need to apply, but actually it's very hard. It's like yelling inside of me, and somehow when I go to my room, nobody there, so I kick my bed. I break the pen. Yeah, because I receive before I normally I treat my anger, like I need to let it out by something like that, and I feel released. And after that, I criticize myself. Why am I aspirant like 3 months already? Why I'm still behave like this? And put more things on my plate. I shot myself the second arrow, the third arrow. Yeah. And now I learn the different ways. Yeah. It's not about like you speak it out or not, but how. It's the way you do it. Yeah. And in the past, sometimes I feel that if I talk to them so soft, so gentle, they didn't really aware of that. They didn't recognize it. And when I use my anger to talk to them, it's more it's more effective. But just that moment, after that, people feel hurt. And when they feel hurt, you also feel hurt too. Yeah, it happened as always, I discover. And so that's how after that, I feel that I leave the wound inside of people until they share out, they cry, and they say how painful is it for them. And I see that, oh, it's not the right way to do. Yeah. Because after that, I also feel not easy for me to accept myself. Yeah. And now I use a different method. I treat my anger as a friend. Yeah. Because sometimes the discrimination inside of us tell us this is the good seed, this is the bad seed. Yeah. Anger is not good, get away. Love is the good seed, take it more. Yeah, but actually, the seed, all kinds of seeds is equally. Yeah. And the more like your anger appears, even though like instead of you chase them away, you reject it, so you accept it, embrace it as a friend. And especially, it needs more presence, more love than the other thing you call good sins. Yeah, and so based on that, so in the monastery, I learned how to respect all the feeling, all the emotion I have. Yeah, I respect it and I see it myself. It's a part of me. Yeah. And secondly, I learned how to express it. Yeah, in the peaceful way. It helped me and helped others to build the compassionate, to build love and understanding. So we have beginning a new practice. Like yesterday, Sister Phượng Nghiem, she shared with you. Beginning a new, we sit down, we drink tea or coffee, and we share how we feel painful, how we feel suffer. Like you just share about how you feel hurt when the girl say that, and you feel hurt, and we all understand. And I feel that when you shared, I didn't feel any criticize in me comes up arise. Yeah, I just feel yeah, I understand it. Yeah, and just the way we behave and the way we share it. Yeah, and so we train. So we do it in the foundations of like we want to understand and we want to love ourselves and also respect others. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sister Nghiem. And I just like to add a little bit to that. You can stay if you like. Yes. So we said, as Sister Nghiem shared, monastery is a wonderful training ground to deal with all kinds of emotions because we are human beings and we have all kinds of conflicts, small and big, in our life here. And as a practitioner, we need to remember that whenever there's a conflict of any kind, it's never only the one side is at the fault. I mean, we're never the victim, even though if we feel like, in this situation I feel hurt, and I might see myself as a victim. But when we actually look at the situation, the conflict becomes the object of our meditation. And when you look deeply, and when we have the insight, and then we understand, I've also played a part in this conflict. So if I may take your example, since you gave such a very concrete example, yes, it's very hurtful when somebody speaks to us in an aggressive way. But first we need to say, okay, how did I play a part in this conflict? And that is, maybe I should have asked for permission before taking something, and I took it for granted, right? So then, obviously the other person wasn't happy. So when we recognize that, what we do is we practice beginning anew. But first we say sorry in our heart, and then if we can locate the person, we can always go to the person and say, I'm sorry yesterday, I could see that you worked so hard in the heat, or maybe it wasn't so hot yesterday, but anyway, you worked so hard, and but it's just because I was so hungry, but I should have asked you for permission before taking this, and then that's it, and that resolved the conflict. So always the practice is we are being protected by our own energy of mindfulness that we produce. Because when we are mindful enough, we can prevent the situation from happening. If we have enough mindfulness, we know, maybe I should ask. This could trigger somebody if I just take. We don't know, but anyway, it's safer to ask. So first of all, the mindful energy can protect us from conflict from happening. And if it happens, because we're human beings and we just never know what kind of state the other person is in. And if it happens, again, it's our own energy of mindfulness that gives us the solution. It gives, coming back to our own mindfulness energy. And then that's the energy that tells us, maybe I should do this to resolve the conflict. And then it's very empowering because then we are no longer victim of any situation. We know we have the power to resolve the conflict. And then that is a breakthrough, that is our energy of insight that we can take refuge in. And when we can do that once, we can be more confident to do it again and again. And we are not afraid of coming into all kinds of situations of conflict with other people. I mean, we try our best to avoid conflicts, but at the same time, if it happens, our heart is not closed because we know how to overcome that. So, thank you.
Now, yeah. Dear friends, dear teachers, I have maybe a similar question, but it's just the other way around. So, I feel like here we speak a lot about how we could deal with anger, how we could deal with being selfish, and I sometimes feel like I don't even have this seed of anger. So I actually don't know what anger feels like, and I notice that it's like very often in my daily life I miss it, because in daily life out there, out of this mindful environment, I feel that very often I need to speak up for myself, and not only for myself but also for my friends, for my values even. And I feel like a bit of anger would really help me. So I really wonder in which way the practice could help me with this.
Dear Thai, dear Sangha, first, good luck. That you don't have to deal with anger. But the second is, I think in the practice we are not looking for unwholesome mental formation. If you remember the picture that the sister draw, when we say, like now, for example, we may not feel angry, but it does not mean that we don't have anger. That anger is in the form of seed. When we look at the trees, like the apple trees, for example, we may see like, oh, there's no apple. But the apple is in the form of potential at that time. When the condition is sufficient, the season is right, then the apple will manifest. So the same with our anger. I think for myself, in your case, I would suggest to not look for anger. And you don't have to train your anger to come up. But giving a space for the anger to come up when it is needed. Yeah. This is the same as grief, as many other things. We may like to have the feeling of, oh, my loved one has difficulty or even pass away, but I don't have the feeling right now, for example. And that is something that we don't need to be panicked about or to try to feel grieving, but we give space for the grief to come when it's time. So it's the same with the anger. we give space in our heart, in our mind, for anger when it is necessary, when it is conditioned, is sufficient, then it will come out, and then you will meet your anger and to embrace and to learn with your anger together. And meanwhile, when you don't have that energy, explore the other energy, because when we do something, sometimes we feel like, oh, I need anger to have more fuel to push something to happen, for example. But actually, the question is it really anger? Or it's just a fierce compassion? It's like when you see a child go a little bit far, and then in that area there is like a hole that the child may fall into, for example. And that place has no boundary, and the child is pretty close to that edge. And you are quite far, you maybe have to scream that child to get the attention of that child in order to stop, and then you can run there and then take that child, for example. So that shouting is not an anger. That shouting is not a violence. Is a compassion. It's from compassion from that child not to get wounded. And we use all our power to shout. Yeah. Or we shout out loud to ask help. That is not anger. Yeah. So this is something that we can explore as we have all kinds of mental formation, all kinds of seeds. We can continue to learn and practice with it. I told myself, if I practice after 5 years and my anger is get amputated from my system, I don't want that, because I become handicapped. I don't want to be mentally handicapped. I want all my feeling, my emotion, I want all of them to be active, to respond to all different situations. But what I need to know is how to live with it, to practice with my all kind diversity of emotion, because that is the joy of being alive, that you can have all kind of feelings. Yeah. And I saw also there is a question about that on someone who is coming from home of violence, and of course we also heritage what our family have, and also how can we love ourselves with that violence, and how can we better manage our reaction to not connect with that strong seed of violence. So for me, it's also the same. We are not trying to avoid, so we are not trying to cultivate anger, but we also to not push away our violence. We embrace our violence, we learn, and we practice with it. And the first things that we need to do with our emotion is to cultivate happiness. Yeah. For now, for example, when I get angry, I don't feel afraid nowadays. When I see anger coming out, I don't feel afraid. The first thing I feel is happy. And it's the same with the sexual energy, it's also the same. When it arises, the first thing I will respond to that energy is to feel happy, because I'm alive at that moment. Yeah. And to be able to feel all of different feelings is wonderful. Yeah, it's wonderful, because I'm not in the numbness state. So that's what I like to suggest for in terms of anger and the fire within. Give space for that to come out at any time it is needed. Thank you.
Dear community, dear brothers and sisters, so soon we will have to go home. That's sad. And a lot of us will continue the practice. But sometimes in the practice you want to bow to a flower, you want to do things that can feel a little bit awkward. And here it's still okay, but even here you can feel awkward. And also I think our society, it's even stronger, that if you bow to a flower in Paris, you're the madman of Paris. And maybe you can stop practicing just because you fear this judgment. And so I wanted to know how you deal with that, if also you feel awkward, and how you overpass it, because if you really want to do something that's healing for you, how you deal with that. Thank you.
Dear community, dear friend, first of all, I'm so happy to hear that you really enjoy the practice of bowing to flowers. So beautiful. Because, to be honest, I've never practiced that. I will start. Yes. So in Buddhism, we say that we have 84,000 Dharma doors, and that's the number that's historically used, but it just means we have unlimited number of ways to practice. And each one of us, we find our own way to practice in the right place at the right time. For example, this spring I had an opportunity to go for a teaching tour to Japan. And we took public transportation, metros everywhere when we moved. And I think some of you have been to Tokyo. In metro station Tokyo, if you do walking meditation, it will make many, many people angry. Because the speed of walk, you just have to go with the flow. Yeah. So when we practice walking meditation, it's not really about the speed. It's whether we're practicing or not, is if we are aware of each step we're making, if you feel like we are arriving with each step. And here we practice it slower because it's easier when we practice slower. But it doesn't mean that wherever we are, like when you're in Paris, you have to walk super slow. When you enjoy walking slowly, yes, we can walk slowly. When we are surrounded by other people who are walking fast, we just go with the flow. And if people notice that you're doing something a little bit strange, then you need to check in to see, am I really practicing in a natural way? Because mindfulness practice doesn't need to be noticed by other people. Sometimes we also have friends say, oh, I want to continue the practice, but in my family, nobody likes to practice mindfulness. So I don't feel supported. But we need to check again to see, am I sure about this? Because most people, whether they know the word mindfulness or not, whether they've been to our center or not, I think most of us, we are quite mindful when we are doing something we're enjoying doing. So somebody who really enjoys gardening, when they're with the flowers, they're very mindful. You see the movement of their hands. You know they are fully present. Somebody who enjoys cooking, they're fully present when they're cooking without feeling the time pressure. They're just doing it for the joy of doing. Or when you are enjoying sports or playing music or instrument. So we just need to identify what do I enjoy doing? And we recognize the state of mind when we enjoy doing something because we're in that moment. We are not distracted. We are very mindful. And from there, we remember, oh, I can be mindful when I'm biking, when I'm swimming, or when I'm working on the computer. And then that becomes part of your life. So, and your whole life is infused with this energy of mindfulness. And then from there, we can also bring, I know this feeling of being in the present moment. I want to commit myself to do this every day. For example, when I wake up from my bed to the bathroom, nobody needs to see us, but we know that we are fully present with each step. Or we make a commitment. Every time I sit down to eat my meal, the first 5 minutes, I make the vow to eat mindfulness. So there are so many different ways to practice, and nobody needs to know. But when we are mindful, we are radiating this energy of mindfulness, of ease and joy. And then from that, the people around us, they will notice there's something different about you. And then from there, they will start to ask, they will develop curiosity. And when they ask, you seem a little bit different these days, or, you seem very peaceful, or very solid. And then you have a chance to share about the practice. And that's how we create more and more friends who can practice with you on this path of mindfulness. Yeah. So, good luck.
So I just ask one more little thing, and I suggest that you may find communities. It's like enjoying do awkward thing like this. So you can find a group of friends or a sangha. So every week or every month, so you come together and reach the practice. You can make a form of the day of mindfulness. So create things that you enjoy all together. Yeah, thank you. Come to Paris Center to bow to the flower.
Dear friends, is it okay? So, dear friends, dear brothers and sisters, I have a question that arises very recently in this Monday. I got a message that one of my family members, she got a mosquito bite, and then she just passed away 2 days later in Africa because of malaria. And so it's been really hard for me. I was keeping grieving for her, and I think of her that she had been taking care of every grandchild, and she's such a loving and energetic and caring figure in our family. That she was always laughing and joking around and making really good dishes. And I always thought of her that she will always be there, and she will saw all her grandchild grown up and be really full grown up adults, but she just passed away very urgently and suddenly in somewhere that I don't think she would like to I think there's some wishes she had left undone, and I've been continuously like living in my own life while I was thinking of her, like in some moment when I'm alone, and I think of like her laugh and her movement and how she go to swim in the morning, sort of thing. Then I think my question is just how to deal with the grieving period and how to deal with like there's a moment you just saw endless sufferings on this earth because there's still lots of people died of malaria every day. So that's my question.
Dear Trai, dear Sangha, I feel that she's very, very alive right now. I can see that she's beaming out of you when you're sharing about her, and I think that's something that can help actually is to see how much she's already part of you. How much she's alive in you. That you can invite her. Maybe she would have enjoyed to be with you actually, right now in that retreat. And you can invite her to practice with you, to sit with you, to walk with you. We have that practice here to invite our loved ones in our body and to let them actually practice with our body. So it doesn't really matter if we are still alive or not, because actually we are all continuing in a way in each of all the people we actually touched. And she seemed to have been touching you a lot, and not only you. And it's beautiful to keep the memory of such beautiful, loving figure, because she's also. When I was listening to you, reminding me also of my grandmother on my mother side. That was clearly the figure of love. And of love for all her grandchildren and all her children. Whatever happened in her life, she has been always here for all of them. And she was always very happy when I would meet her. So for me, the same. If I bring her even right now here, I feel that I'm actually honoring her and honoring that love that she was emanating from her, and that the more I bring her up in my mind, the more I can actually slowly also be a continuation of her, of that love, of that beautiful love. And she passed away actually 3 years ago, I think, during the COVID time. And well, it was the same for me. I had some emotions that have been coming up. I would have liked her to continue with us, so that she can continue to be such a beautiful, loving figure for us. But somehow it was not possible. So I've been also dealing with all the emotions that are coming, of the loss, of the sadness, and honoring also those emotions when they were coming up. that is actually, I have the right, and you have the right to feel, and to have that process of grieving her. And what I see that after those 3 years is that every time she's coming to my mind is always that loving figure. It's that beautiful emotion that is actually coming. So thank you for sharing with us. We can feel that she's here, and I'm sure that all of us have somebody in our life that is reminding us of such a beautiful, loving presence. Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to add one more thing. I think we all experiences, and myself, I also experiences. When my father passed away, I mean that 8 years already. Yeah, but I'm still crying when I'm talking about him. It's come up now. I'm aware that from time to time I try to test to see how is it. Yeah, because somehow I feel that why I'm crying, because like I'm still in the processing stuff like grieving and like honoring him, and one thing I'm aware that I feel the feeling of like I feel pity because he doesn't have a chance to continue to live this life, and when I feel that, so I feel emotion, yeah. And I practice with that, and I feel that when you share, like maybe she leave behind many things she wished to do, but she not finished yet. Sometimes it's there, it's always when we think about it, we feel so much pain, yeah. And for me, I practice to trust, yeah. I trust her. Yeah, she has capacity to see how beautiful she lived during the time she's on earth. Yeah. And also in everyone. So we have capacity to appreciate life. And also when the leaf fall down off the tree, so we also have a capacity to let go and to accept and to continue our journey. And so when I have that trust in my father, so I feel much lighter. Yeah. I just want to add that. Thank you very much.
Dear Sangha, dear teachers, this is a question that has been burning inside of me for months, maybe years. I'm a sustainability manager, and I look at things quite systemically in my job. And it seems to me that with the patriarchy and capitalism, we have created a system of incredible destruction and suffering. And listening to the last couple of days, I think the cause for that might be that most people have more unwholesome seeds watered than wholesome ones. Maybe when they were children, but also when they're adults. And I keep coming back to why is it so difficult for humans to water the wholesome seeds? Why does it have to be such a struggle? Because these systems, we created them. They didn't fall from the sky. So why is it that the human experience that we look all our life to water the wholesome seeds, but it is very difficult?
Thank you for that question. I also have the same question. Why? With a big W. Yeah, I keep saying that, human, we think that we are the most intelligent being in the world, but I don't believe that. I think the first thing I need to correct in my mind is to correct that information that human has a superior than the other beings. I think that is also creating our suffering, and we feel very disappointed with human being because we have that perception, because we are taught at school like that, we are informed like that, that human is the highest being on earth or something like that. But we are just part of the earth like the other beings. There is no better and less. If you want to look at better and less, actually human being is the youngest creature that has been found on earth not long ago compared to the plants and minerals and animals. And sometimes we also call human animal. Yeah. So we are still in the process of evolution, and we hope that we can continue to evolve from the Homo sapiens become Homo conscious, maybe. Yeah. So at that time, when the human is Homo conscious, the suffering may be different, and the mental formation may be different, and we are all right now participating in that evolution, and we help each other. While there's something terrible is happening, there's something nice is also happening. And it's about our contribution and not step back, especially as young people. We should not step back from all the desperate situation that is happening. We need to kind of continue to step forward and continue to ask questions, what contribution that I can offer? And it does not have to be big, but it has to be daily. Yeah? It does not have to be like super huge things that can shift the whole world. But every single contribution counts for change. Yeah. And that's why also in Plum Village, what we can do, I think the best thing that we can do right now is to provide space and bring people together. And that is our contribution. And when we bring people together, we have a chance to provide a condition for everybody to touch peace, to touch hope, to touch kindness inside of everybody. And for us, that is already enough. So we slowly do some accountability of what I can contribute. Yeah. So this is something that we can all work together. And the question of why we are so easy to have unwholesome mental formation than the wholesome one. This is very difficult to answer because we don't have that education, whether at home, whether at school. There's no education on feelings, on happiness, on emotion. Rarely we have that kind of learning. What we have is to train our intellectual mind most of the time. Like even now, for example, in France, all these spiritual things cannot be bring to the system because it is a separate things. Yeah, like the feeling, the emotion, the spirituality. But yet we know that very clear. We are not just body. We are also the mind. So this is also another thing that we need to look at. That's why we also have, besides we have affinity group for young people, we also have affinity group for educators to look together as a collective awakening. What can we add more in our education system so that we have a chance to transmit that wholesome mental formation to the next generation. And then also we also do retreat for families. So how can we also start to pay attention to the wholesome mental formation in the smallest unit in our society, which is family. So these are all the things that we have access to and we can do it. And don't think about something that you cannot do, okay? So when we face this situation, face difficulty, either inside or outside, we always start from something that we can access, something that we can do, and we put aside what we cannot do. Because maybe later we can do it, yeah? So this is one thing, and the second thing is, because we are, our system in our feeling, in our mind, we are pretty much function based on what we like and what we don't like. Yeah. When we face something what we don't like, there is a certain reaction. When we face something that we like, we have certain reaction. And that is why in the practice of mindfulness, we have one realm, one foundation called feeling. We want to train ourselves to breathe with our feeling, pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, neutral feeling, and mixed feeling. And we don't want to lean on any feeling. We just want to be able to embrace that feeling as a reality. Because each feeling, it defines our action. And some of us, because of the unpleasant feeling, and also the transmission from our ancestor, it produces a certain kind of reaction. Yeah. And with the mindfulness concentration and insight, we can slowly work on transforming the seed. Whether we transform from the unwholesome mental formation or we water the potential that we already have. So we have all the wholesome formation, all set is complete. This is pretty much also the same with this question about, so our friend is currently pregnant and will become a parent in the beginning of the next year. Congratulations. And so our friend also have this question like, how can I transmit the best thing for my child? So that I believe that this also means that how can I not transmit too much unwholesome mental formation? And I think we don't need to worry about that too much. As long as we already know how to touch peace, come back to ourselves and recognize what is in us, we have a hope of transformation. Because everything is so impermanent. And being a parent, I think the best thing is to not be a perfect parent. Because it's not exist. Yeah? You cannot just have nice feeling and not nice feeling disappear. No, we want to be really alive. And we need to trust our child too. All the children that you see, they are older than you. Is that correct? They are the oldest generation if we calculate. They are the last generation. And then they have another generation. So, last generation does not mean that that's we finish. Eh? So don't misunderstand me. It means they are the latest generation. It means they are, if you calculate the human life, that is the oldest one. So we have to also sometimes think in that way to see that we learn together, parents and child learning together. So we don't need to be too superior or inferior about it. Yeah. So that's what I have. I hope it is helpful. Thank you so much.
So, dear friends, I think it's almost time, and we'd like to have one last question. Yeah.
Hello, dear friends, dear brothers and sisters. It might be a weird question after almost a week of practice, but why do we meditate? Why is it that we feel more at peace when we are mindful and less at peace when we are in our thoughts? In our thoughts, you know, yeah.
Yatai, Yasanga. That's a good question. Why? I see that I don't really ask myself that question anymore. Maybe I did in the past. But it's more that I find that, well, actually it's true. It works. If I'm more mindful of my body and my emotions, somehow I can yeah, the mind is tricky. The mind will often lead us. It's kind of also linked with maybe the question we had earlier on dreams, when somehow there is a kind of a movie that is happening in our head, and if some studies have shown that actually our way of, by default, our way of being by default is actually kind of that random mind that is just trying to make sense of what's happening inside, but also what's happening outside, and making stories. And that we can spend most of our day sorry, just following that. Sometimes we speak about the monkey in our head that is jumping from one branch to another. I like also the idea of a boat on the sea that is just being actually going there and slowly there without really having a clear destination. And so that's where the question of aspiration is coming. And do I want to let... So my question is more, do I want to let myself just being kind of being led by my thoughts, being led by randomness? Or do I want to slowly wake up from that? And that's a good thing, we are in a wake-up retreat. So I guess you have been experiencing what it means. And yeah, and the more I practice, and the more I see that being aware of emotions, being aware of the body, I can see how I can be more free and more actually able to not being leading to whatever my mind is actually leading me to. Because also we can, if we don't do it, we can also very easily be led to wherever somebody else wants us to lead us. And we can see that in our society there is a lot of hooks, like in advertising, for example, that where we subconsciously they try to actually lead us to think that, oh, if you buy that beautiful car, you will be more happy. And or to make us think that we need to look in a way, a certain way, to be accepted, to be loved. That's also linked with the question of why we should not be able to bow to a flower in the street. And that's what I found with myself is that there is a lot of fear actually behind of how I will be perceived. Fear and need to be accepted, need to be loved. And if I'm not aware of that underlying current in me, I will let myself actually be led by other things. And thinking that if I follow what other people tell me to do, that's the way I will be loved actually. That's the way I will be accepted. Because as a human being, there is nothing more scary than not being accepted in your tribe. Because we are still tribal in our mind. Our brain has been evolving through millions of years, being in very close groups, where our survival was actually to stay with that group. So we had to make what it takes to continue with that group. So for me, I really saw that actually, that fear. And I see it again and again in other people also, that the underlying fear of not being loved, not being accepted, and that need. So for me, it's very important to be aware of it, so we can actually act in a way that is more free, and that is actually bringing more freedom also in the world. So that's kind of a random, not so random, but one answer.
Just to add a little bit, in your question I heard that there's meditating and there's thinking as the two separate things. But our practice is to look at everything we do in the light of interbeing. So when we're thinking, it doesn't mean that we're not meditating. When we're meditating, we're not thinking. But the question is, how are we thinking? And we had, day before yesterday, the presentation of 5 mindfulness training, in which Sister was explaining about the Noble Eightfold Path, and one of them is right thinking. So each day, each moment, we are generating from ourselves actions in our thinking, speech, and bodily actions. That's how we engage with the outside world. So by being mindful, we can choose, we can be more intentional. So we are not the victim of our own action, especially of our own thinking. For example, like when we get angry and when we're consumed by the energy of anger, which is very normal, as Brother Baotan said, it's part of being human being. We don't want to cut that part from ourselves. But when something triggers us and then feel angry, that's a natural response. But if we continue to feel angry day after day, months after months, it's actually because we are feeding our anger with our own thinking. We keep repeating the story over and over. So we can be, when we are mindful of our own thoughts, we can actually stop feeding the seeds that makes us suffer, and we can choose to feed something else. And we call that practice selective watering. So we choose which seed do I want to water, and that is the act of right thinking. We can choose to think in the direction of more wholesomeness, of more happiness and compassion, well-being. Thank you. So, dear friends, sorry we didn't get to the end of the line, but we still have, this afternoon we still have another Dharma sharing session, so that is a great space to ask your question. And we still have one more Dharma Talk tomorrow in Upper Hamlet, offered by Sister Nghiem. So I'm listening to your questions. I can already hear her response. I think she'll be responding to these kind of questions about our mind, how our mind works, individual, collective, and then also about our emotions and so on. So we still have a day and a half together, so let us enjoy every moment and really fully be present for each other so we can support each other and also we can benefit from each other's practice energy. It's very precious to be together like this. And it's only through our own practice of mindful breathing, mindful walking, of cultivating this energy from within that we can tap into our own inner teacher, inner wisdom and insight. And we all have that seed. So even if you felt like, oh, my question wasn't answered, or I didn't like the answer that I received from the Dharma teachers, it's okay, because you have your true answer that's really coming from your own experience. Yeah. And what's most important is that we were here together almost 2 hours, 250 people sitting together peacefully, breathing together. And from there, we were actually cultivating really beautiful energy. So thank you so much for your practice, for being here, for your deep listening, for treasuring each other's presence.